Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Happy almost weekend. Oh my god, I've been riding the struggle bus super hard in the last like 24 to 48 hours. I don't know what's up. My allergies are like going bananas. I woke up this morning feeling okay, but then I started to get a migraine. Fortunately, I was able to take some medicine and like nip it in the bud relatively quickly, so I napped it off, like drank some water, ate a salad, and now I feel like a human again. I was so worried that I wasn't going to be able to film a video for today. My Wednesday video went up today, which is Thursday, which was late because yesterday was kind of a crazy day, so just having one of those weeks. So I was thinking about what I wanted to film for today's video, and I decided, in the spirit of just needing to chill, just wanting to relax and have a good time, because today's just one of those days I want to practice some self-care. We're just gonna hang out and we are going to go through and swatch and talk about all of my highlighters. So not that long ago, I did a video swatching my eyeshadow single collection. So like all of my little eyeshadow pans that I have in my Z palette, I swatched my whole collection for you guys. And in my community tab, I put it out there like, would you guys like to see me swatch or go through any other part of my makeup collection? And there was some interest in my highlighters, which I'm all about. I love highlighter. It is one of my favorite parts, probably aside from eyeshadow, maybe also lipstick. I don't know, I really just like makeup, but highlighters are beautiful, they're shiny, they're so pretty to look at, they're fun to apply, they really like elevate your makeup look, so I have quite a few of them. I feel like I try not to add too many more too often because it takes so long to go through a single highlighter. Like there's no way I could probably even pan any of these because you just need a little bit to add to your look. But you know, it's nice to have options, it's nice to have variety, so I have a nice little collection, and I figured it might be helpful for you guys to see what these products look like, what they look like in comparison to each other, both in shades and in textures, how shimmery, how wet they are, all that jazz. We'll talk about which ones I really like, which ones I'm kind of like meh about. Right now I feel like my collection's pretty good because I did a declutter at the beginning of the year, so I did get rid of products that I really wasn't using. So aside from some new things that I've gotten in subscription boxes, in the meantime, I feel like my highlighter collection is pretty solid in terms of me enjoying and using all of these products. So before we get into the swatching goodness, I do want to say hello and welcome to any of you who are new here. My name is Lauren. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. I upload new videos, theoretically, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I am a human. I am a real person, so sometimes life happens and sometimes a video goes up a little late or doesn't happen, but most of the time I try to be real consistent and be here for you guys. So if you want to see more of my videos and come and hang out with me again in the future, I hope you will subscribe, join our little family here. And yeah, in the meantime, let's get into some swatching. Actually, side note, it is crazy windy again. I swear, it gets so windy every time I'm trying to film. I like live on top of a hill, so it is so loud when we're having a windy day, and like March is just a windy, blustery month. So I apologize if there's like crazy weird noise in the background. It's the outside. Also, second side note, if you're digging my makeup today, I am using the new Pure and BoxyCharm palette from my BoxyCharm this month. I'm kind of digging it. I'm feeling these like berry tone vibes. Let me know if you got that palette as well and what you've been thinking about it. Alright, so for real this time, let's get into swatching. Alright guys, so here is my highlighter collection. You can't even really see all of it in the frame. So I'm trying to think of what the best way to go about doing this is. I'm thinking maybe what we'll do is we'll start with maybe like cream highlighters, like these Butter London ones, and swatch those next to each other, and then we'll do the rest of the powder highlights, because basically everything here is either a cream or a powder, or I guess it could be a liquid like this little Cover FX, but we'll consider this in the same category as a cream. Now, I honestly used to have more in the way of cream highlights in the past, but I decluttered a lot of them because I just don't wear them that often. So the ones that I kept really speak for themselves because I obviously like them a lot, or like them enough to keep them around. So I've got two shades here of the Physicians Formula Butter Highlighters. I have the shade Rose Gold and the shade Champagne. There are, I think, 5 shades total in this line, but these were the two that appealed most to me. So this is the shade Champagne. Now these have a really wet texture to them. They do feel creamy, but it's like a very, I don't know, like a very light texture. It's not a thick cream, it's a very thin cream, and in the pan they feel almost like cool and wet to the touch. This is the shade rose gold swatched right next to it. Now, looking at these guys in person, they do have a bit of sparkle to them, like really, really fine micro glitters. So if you don't like that sort of glittery look in your highlighter, you may not be a fan of these. I think that they're really pretty on the skin. I think they blend in really nicely, and I find that they wear decently well on me. You can also layer a powder highlighter on top of these if you want to like really amp up the shine factor. But generally, I feel like these are very easy to work with. They're easy to blend, but these two shades in particular are actually pretty dark on the skin. Like, I find that the shade Champagne really will look better on medium to dark skin tones. Same thing with Rose Gold. You could definitely use these on the eyes as an eyeshadow if they were too dark for you, but I think if you are very fair in complexion, you're probably going to want to go with the shade Pearl over one of the two of these because they may look a little too shadowy on your skin when they're not like directly in the light. Then here I got a little sample of the Cover FX Custom Enhancer Drops in the shade Moonlight. And I swear to God, even though this is a sample, this bottle will last an eon because you just need like the tiniest drop of this to get such pigmentation. Like, if you look at just that little swatch, before you blend it out, I mean, this looks like liquid metal on your skin. It's really beautiful, which is why I keep it around. It can be a little streaky as you blend it out. I think the best way to blend this one in is with a sponge, although you can kind of tap it in with your fingers, but I feel like a sponge really gives it a beautiful, like, very airbrushed finish. But this is obviously a much lighter highlight. This one has a slightly more cool pinky undertone to it. Really beautiful, I think, on fairer complexions. And yeah, this one doesn't really have the micro glitter of the Butter London ones. This one is just a nice sheen, a very like healthy glow on the skin. So this one's a little bit more natural if you're into less of that blinding highlight. Then the last one here is the Marc Jacobs Spotlight Highlight. So this one looks like a little stick of deodorant almost, which is kind of funny. And this one has both gold and silver pearls in it, so it's supposed to be like universally flattering. What I'm gonna do is just basically go on this with my finger instead of applying it directly from the stick, because I feel like from the stick you really get a lot of product. So this is what this guy looks like. Now, the thing about this highlight, I find it can be a little bit chunky. You really have to make sure you blend it well. Otherwise, I feel like it can kind of accentuate texture and just look a little chunky on the skin. But it does have a really nice undertone. You can definitely see that it's less pink than that moonstone color. It's a very, you know, it is not too gold, it's not too silver. It's like a nice in-between, so I understand why they say that it has pearls of both. Again, I do like kind of tapping this in my fingers or blending it in with a sponge to make it look a little bit more seamless. But yeah, it's a pretty highlighter. I do enjoy it, especially in the summer when I'm kind of not really using as intense of makeup or foundation. Like, it's a nice everyday kind of highlight just to tap on the high points of my face or use as an eyeshadow when I'm doing like a more minimal makeup look. So those were all my cream highlighters. So now let's move into the powders. And I'm thinking I'm going to do these by brand and kind of try to stick in a similar color family, like start with all my champagne-y colors, and then if I have any weird color highlighters, we'll do those last so you can kind of see better the comparisons. So let's start with Ofra. The Ofra highlighter formula is really beautiful. It is very, very creamy and smooth. These are also extremely intensely pigmented. This one here is called Rodeo Drive. It is a really pretty gold champagne. Again, these ones don't really have any micro glitter in them. They are just very, very light reflective and almost metallic on the skin. Rodeo Drive was one of my favorites in the summer last year. It's super gorgeous. This one here is the collab with Nikki Tutorials. It's called Everglow. So you can actually buy these 3 shades individually now. This lightest one here, I believe she calls Glazed Donut. This one is like for fair girls. This one looks almost white on my skin, so it was a little bit harsh. I like to mix it together with this more champagne color. This one's called Glow Goals, which is more of a true champagne. Really beautiful color. You can see it's less yellow than Rodeo Drive is. And then I'm trying to remember what the name of this coppery shade is. To be honest, I really don't remember. This one obviously is not a highlight on me. This one would be more of a highlight on deep complexions, but it's a really beautiful fiery eyeshadow shade on me. And I may be able to kind of like mix all 3 of these together. Let's see what that looks like. So if we mix all three shades. Maybe add a little bit more of the lighter shade in there. We get something kind of like this, which again is probably, I think I got a little bit too much of the coppery shade in there. It's probably a little bit deep on my skin tone, but it's still a pretty shade. So it's nice that you get some variety with this. You can kind of mix and match, and it does have the same formula as Rodeo Drive does. Then I do have this Ofra palette that I got at the holidays that has a full size of the Blissful highlighter, which, oh my god, this is a stunning rose gold shade. So let's swatch this one here. So this does look a little bit different. Like, I was kind of curious to see how similar this is to Glow Goals. They are very similar, these two shades, but this one has got a little bit more of a rose pink undertone to it. This again is probably better for more medium skin tones. It's probably going to look a little shadowy on very light complexions when it's not directly in the light. But yeah, Ofra highlighters, they're kind of expensive, but they're beautiful. And there is, I believe, a like little trio you can get now that has Rodeo Drive, Blissful, and one of their other highlighters as well, in kind of like slightly smaller pan sizes. And I think that's probably honestly the way to go if you want to try Ofra's highlighters, because there's no way in heck I will ever like hit pan on these or be able to make my way through a whole one of them. Probably the next most popular highlighters in my collection are the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfectors. These are also very intense and beautiful. They have almost like a creamy sort of texture. They don't have any micro glitter. They're actually just really, really super beautiful products. So I have the shade Prosecco Pop. Then I also have in this duo here the shade Champagne Pop. I'm trying to open these with one hand, so it's tricky, guys. And then I have this little baby of the shade Opal. So let's swatch Prosecco Pop. This one is like a true gold shade. It is a little more yellow than Rodeo Drive is, and I feel like it's a little bit deeper as well. So if this is, let's see, Rodeo Drive is up here, and this is Prosecco Pop, they are a little bit different. I feel like this is a little bit lighter and creamier. This one has a little bit more of a sheer glittery texture, but not really glittery per se. I don't know, it's just got a slightly different undertone, slightly different texture to it. Then Champagne Pop. This one has a more sort of peachy undertone to it. Such a beautiful shade. I know why everybody's kind of obsessed with it. I've worn this highlighter a ton. And then Opal is like my newest obsession. I feel like this one works really well with my skin tone. And then Opal, I would say it's similar-ish to Champagne Pop, but certainly not the same. This one has maybe like a slightly more of a neutral pink undertone to it. And I feel like it is maybe somewhat similar to that Glow Goals shade from Ofra. So if we have Opal here, and then we have Glow Goals here, I feel like those ones are similar in the way that Prosecco Pop and Rodeo Drive are kind of similar. Opal's also somewhat similar to Blissful in undertone, kind of having that slightly more pink edge to it, but it's a little bit lighter, a little bit more forgiving on skin tones that aren't as deep. So moving along to some drugstore goodness, this is one of the Milani Strobelight Illuminating Glow Powders in the shade Sunglow. I am obsessed with this highlighter. So this one has, again, a sort of golden champagne undertone to it. Really smooth, really creamy, really like blinding on the skin. I am very much into this for comparisons purposes, because I did take off the Ofra and the Becca highlighters because I was running out of arm space. This is Rodeo Drive. And this is Prosecco Pop. If you want to see how similar these highlighters all look to each other. I feel like the Ofra one is definitely like the most pigmented, and I feel like Prosecco Pop again is more gold. I feel like this Milani highlighter is kind of like the love child between these two. So if you're a fan of these two highlighters that are way more expensive, this one's like $10. You can get it from the drugstore, and I feel like it is equally as beautiful. Speaking of drugstore amazingness, this is the Precious Petals highlighter from Wet n Wild. This one definitely has more of a color to it. It's more of like a peachy, pinky gold kind of highlight. So stunning. So let's swatch this one here. I feel like Precious Petals looks especially nice on like a tan complexion, or it could be used as a blush topper on a very fair complexion. But I feel like you definitely get a lot more peach and a lot more pink in this than you do with like the Blissful highlighter or even like the Glow Gold shade from Ofra. Also, this highlighter is like $5, and so for $5 you really can't beat it. It's very smooth, it's not like too chunky or glittery, and it looks just really beautiful on the skin. Then next here I have a Tarte highlighter. This is the Exposed highlight, which is maybe like a little bit more glittery, a little bit more chunky. It also smells like vanilla. It's kind of delicious. So this one has a yellow gold undertone to it. It's pretty flattering on fair complexions. This one definitely does have more noticeable glitter in it, so if you don't like the look of a glittery highlight, this one may not be for you. But I do enjoy it, and the vanilla smell is actually really quite nice. It's a very impactful highlight. I feel like this one's really fun for like an evening out or a special occasion, maybe a little less daytime appropriate because it's kind of so wham bam in your face, but I do generally enjoy it. Speaking of a wham bam in your face, let's talk about Artist Couture. This is a loose powder highlight. OMG, this is intense AF, but it is so beautiful. This one is also going to have much more shimmer to it. It's very light reflective, and it's going to really pick up on those little fine particles when they hit the light. Unfortunately, I feel like on camera you never really see highlighters in their like full brilliance, but in person you can see there's like super fine micro glitter in this Artist Couture highlight. So in certain lighting it's going to look really soft and natural, and then it's going to like hit that sparkle if the light is shining on it just so. You can also like really build this up. I mean, like you can pack it on, and if you want it to be super intense, you can definitely make it way more blinding. Also, I don't think I said this is in the shade Illuminati. We got this in a BoxyCharm actually not that long ago, which I thought was really cool. Then we have this Laura Mercier Baked Matte Radiance Powder, or what is it called officially? Matte Radiance Baked Powder, which kind of sounds strange, like how can it be both matte and radiant, but I guess it does make sense. So this is a highlighter that gives you a very like lit from within kind of glow. It's got like a nice sort of vanilla undertone to it. This one is a lot less metallic than some of these other highlights. This one is a very soft sheen. It adds almost like a matte highlight to the skin, but it has like a sort of more satiny kind of finish. So I understand what they mean by matte radiance. It is a really beautiful product. This is just a little sample, and honestly it has lasted me so long. So I feel like if you were ever to get the full size of this, it would last you a century, because it's a baked product. A little bit goes a long way, and it just takes, I feel like, a lot longer to go through this guy. Now this is not specifically a highlight palette. This is the Hourglass ambient lighting powder palette, but I will say I use this middle shade here. This one is called Incandescent Light. I use this as a highlight all the time, or I've used it, especially in the past, a lot as a highlight. When I'm a little bit more fair, I feel like it's a really beautiful highlighting shade. This one's a little more cool toned. Again, a very natural, like not metallic highlight. These powders are more lit from within looking. There's no shimmer in them that's like micro glitter. It just kind of gives your skin a really beautiful sheen. So I would definitely recommend checking out these Hourglass powders. They are kind of expensive, but if you can get like a little mini version, they're a little bit more affordable, and they do last a really long time. So if you're not a fan of these more like metallic, really shimmery highlights, you may want to check out the ambient lighting powders. And then finally, we have our colorful highlights here. I don't really wear a lot of colorful highlighters. These ones I just got in recent Ipsy bags, so that's primarily where I end up getting colorful highlights from. It's like subscription boxes. This Makeup Geek one that I got here, this is in the shade Luster. I got as part of a Halloween surprise bundle, so I also didn't pick this one out for myself. But I mean, it's nice to sometimes have some options. So this Dirty Little Secrets one here is in the shade Prosecco. This to me looks like it's a blush topper more so than a highlight, because it is very pink. It is really smooth, and it's got kind of like a metallic sheen to it. It's really pretty, so I feel like this would be really nice as a blush topper, but I think on my skin tone it's going to be way too pink and too dark to act as a highlight. Then this guy here is the shade
It says Do Me Afterglow Baked Highlight Powder from the brand Estate. This one is like an iridescent purple shade, which I feel like these purple highlights look a little strange sometimes on my complexion because I am so warm in undertone. They can look a little ashy on me, but it is a really cool color, and at the very least I feel like I would use this as an eyeshadow. Then the Makeup Geek highlighter, again, this is a more pink undertone. It's a little bit icy and cool, but it is very pretty. This one's more wearable than the other pink highlighter because it's more of a frosty pink than like a true deep pink. I've worn this a bunch. It's not my favorite in the sense of I still prefer a champagne highlight over something of this undertone, but the formula is really, really nice. It's very smooth, again, a little bit more on the metallic side, but not too chunky. It doesn't really enhance texture. It just looks really like wet and reflective on the skin. And then I have one more. This guy almost escaped. We just got this Pure Bronze and Brighten palette in a boxy charm. So this guy does have a highlighting shade right here in the middle. And when you swatch it like to the touch, this feels really chunky. Like you can see there be some chunks in this highlighter you really have to blend out. So when you go in with this with a brush though, it is actually much more easy to work with because it doesn't like necessarily pick up as much product as it does with your finger. So as you can tell on my skin, this looks ridiculously intense, but it can be much softer. Like I think if I just kind of do like a light sort of blended swatch, you can see that like when you blend it out, it's not gonna look that harsh. Like it can just be a nice, like subtle glow on the skin. So this was kind of an unexpected favorite. I thought it was gonna be way too intense and metallic and crazy looking on my skin, but as you can see, it's actually pretty soft when you go in with a lighter hand. So there you have it, guys. That was my entire highlighter collection swatched. Hopefully you guys had fun seeing all these different products, seeing the shades, how they compare with each other, the formulas, and all of that jazz, especially if you were interested in picking any of these up, or if you own some of these and you were wondering whether or not they were too similar to something else that you were thinking about buying. If you guys would like to see me maybe like swatch my blush collection next, let me know in the comments of this video because that might be fun to do as well. I would also recommend checking out my Declutter series because I did do swatches of a lot of other parts of my makeup collection in that series. I just did blush, bronzers, and highlights together and I didn't really have time to swatch all these guys, so I think it was fun to like sit down and finally do this, show you guys what all these products look like. So if you enjoyed this video, and I would really appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. Again, if you're not already subscribed and you want to see more of my videos, I hope you click that button before you go. And yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your weekend, and I will see you in Monday's video. Bye!